Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando, that's Corey, and today we are doing 1998's Rounders. Before we dive into it, I got a couple of things. One,
don't splash the plot.
I will splash the pot whenever the fuck I please.
I want to thank new subscribers, people
Yes.
commenting, liking the videos. We appreciate all of the input and suggestions. If you would like to like, subscribe, and comment, do so below. And let's get off and running with Rounders.
Shuffle up a deal.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, Rounders 1998, starring Matt Damon as Mike. A lot of star power in this.
Yes.
And a lot of these, well, a lot. Matt Damon was super young, fresh off of like
Good Will Hunting
and The Rainmaker.
Yep.
I believe those were both in '97.
Which this is basically his character is a combination of those two people.
Pretty much. This is I likened it to this is Good Will Hunting with poker. Cool,
dude. Totally the exact same thing I saw.
The only difference is he didn't say,
"Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?"
And you have Ed Norton, a young Ed Norton. Both of these guys were really young and just at the beginning of their like rise to fame.
Yes.
And Gretchen Mol plays Joe, a character who I can't stand throughout the whole movie, but whatever. John Malkovich as Teddy KGB. John Turturro as Joey Knish, one of my favorite characters.
Such a good character, dude. I totally forgot he existed in this movie. I remember the like four main principals, which was, Damon, Norton, Gretchen Mol, and John Malkovich.
Yep.
John Turturro came on the screen, and I got like giddy.
Yeah.
Like I just woke up as a 12-year-old on Christmas. I was like, ooh, ooh. And he did not disappoint. I loved his character.
Such a great character. And Martin Landau as Abe Petrovsky, the law professor.
So good. He was so good.
He was so good at this.
Gave the only meaningful monologue in the entire movie.
Yes.
And actually batted way out of this movie's league.
Yeah.
Like, he hit a home run with the monologue that deserved to be in fucking Schindler's List, not Rounders. It's amazing.
It is so good. And I mean, everybody does a really good job with this movie.
Yeah. I had feelings about every character.
Yeah, no, so did I. And
good feelings, but it got me in my feels.
And I did, this is, 1998. Texas Hold'em in 98 wasn't like it is now. It's fucking everywhere now. I think this movie kicked off the Texas Hold'em craze in this country.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I remember right around this time is when it started appearing on the Ocho and different shit like that.
Yeah, so let's get into it because the opening is Matt Damon going to Teddy KGB, John Malkovich's place, to play a high-stakes poker game. Matt Damon loses all his money to Teddy KGB and, all his tuition, his rent, whatever, because he built up this $30,000 bankroll by just playing poker, and that's how he was paying his way through school.
Dude, and John Turturro tells him straight up,
because I hope you're not thinking of putting all that glimmer in play. I'll take your whole bankroll. There's plenty of easy games. We get out of here, get some coffee, right over to that soft seat in Queens.
And Turturro knows. I mean, he says it right away. Like, I know why you're doing this. Mm-hmm. You're taking your shot at the World Series of Poker, and you need the money, you need the stake to get there, and yada yada. So I know why you're doing this, but I've been paying, as he says in the movie, child support, alimony, rent.
Hey, that guy hasn't had to work in 15 years.
My only question about that whole opening scene is, why is he even there? Because he's not playing. Like, John Turturro's character, Knish, doesn't seem like the guy that's just hanging around in the poker place watching other people play.
Yeah, his character almost seems like he's supposed to be imaginary. Like he's a guardian angel or Matt Damon's conscience or whatever the fuck. Because he just appears every time Matt Damon is about to make a dumbass decision and says, don't do this, bro. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm good.
I did, because after he loses all his money, he goes to, it's him and Kanish. The shot is outside of KGB's place. Kanish offers him the job driving the truck, his delivery truck, to get through law school. And Matt Damon says, I'm done. I'm done with all of this.
Yep.
And what I really liked about the opening of this movie and at the end of this movie was the exposition, the voiceover by Matt Damon.
5 cards are then dealt face up across the middle. These are community cards everyone can use to make the best 5-card hand.
Matt Damon's narrative was really good.
The narrative at the beginning is great because, especially for people who don't know how to play poker and don't know what the rules are, and it sets it up really good at the very beginning.
Yes.
And the narrative at the end kind of goes over like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is how I win, and yada yada. That's great. The narrative in the whole middle of the movie, can I, as the audience member, just go, oh, that's why he's doing it? I'm not a moron. You don't need to explain it to me. That's literally the only thing, technically, about this movie I didn't like, was the narrative in the middle.
Exactly. Like, take the dialogue in this is very similar to me to like Ocean's 11, where these poker players, these really high stakes inside poker players, have their own kind of language that they speak to each other.
Yep.
In Ocean's 11, they didn't walk you through what each of those little things meant.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was just a thing, and you were just kind of left wondering, like, what the fuck are they talking about? And they never explain what it is. Yeah. Never. This is where Rounders made the mistake, is trying to explain every little thing. Yeah. Like, oh, now Worm's running a con. See how he shifted his toothpick? That means he's got him. Fucking let us fucking watch the movie. I didn't want to listen to the audiobook of Rounders. Yeah. I'm good.
And I've seen this movie, again, I've seen this movie 1,000 times.
Yes.
It's one of my, if I'm sitting around and I need something to watch, Rounders is always a good choice. And I've seen this movie so much, but when I'm watching it, I totally forget about the narrative because I'm just watching the movie. Yeah. But as I'm watching it for this show, I'm like, holy shit, I never realized how much narrative is in the goddamn movie.
Oh, you're swimming in narrative.
But
it's unbelievable.
After the whole Kanish and Matt Damon scene, they flash forward 9 months. Matt Damon's been driving the truck. He's quit playing poker, so he's living on a shoestring budget with him and his girlfriend, Jo, in their apartment. He drops the truck off. He's got to drop something off to Petrovsky, his law professor, and he walks in on a judge's game. And he reads everyone's hand after seeing one bet, maybe a half a round of betting.
Yeah.
Which, again, is impossible. Even for professional poker players, that's impossible. But it moves the story along, so I get why they did this scene.
Yeah.
But he goes from there to their apartment where we see Jo for the first time, Gretchen Mol. Mm-hmm. From scene 1 is the most annoying character to me. You know who she reminds me of? Kay from The Godfather.
Not with this Sicilian thing.
If this movie were a sitcom, it would be called There's No Satisfying Jo, because this bitch is never fucking happy.
No, she's this
I want you to do this, but I really mean this.
Yeah, I know I said that, but I think you know what I meant. I meant that you should use your head.
She says, I don't mean you should con your way into a job. Like, that's not what I'm talking about by using your poker skills. He wasn't. He did what comes naturally to him in a situation that he knows very well. And he even says, I was networking. And she's like, networking.
Oh, God. Networking.
I don't want you to con yourself into a job. Bitch, what do you think job interviews are? Welcome to the real world,
I was going to say, it's the real world.
Everybody's conning their way into a job.
Absolutely. And the worst comment she makes here is...
You'd be just like one of those ex-college athletes, you know? I mean, great job at the DA's office as long as they never miss a lawyer's league game.
Yeah, that is exactly the kind of job I'm looking for.
Why not?
A foot in the door.
That's it.
Is amazing.
That's it. That whole scene immediately rubs me the wrong way. She could be like the heroine of this movie, and I'd still hate her for that scene.
She's the entire reason, like, Brooklyn got gentrified.
She is very waspy. Like,
yes,
like that's
do everything right and do it my way, kind of right, but not your way.
And
by the way, like, this is a very important lesson. We'll even call it a PSA for all of you lovely ladies out there. Hi, nieces, it's Uncle Corey here. I would like to give you a strong piece of advice that will help you in any relationship moving forward. Fellas, take a listen too. Don't try to change the person you're with. Like them for who they are or fuck off. It's never gonna work with this whole, I'm gonna mold you into this perfect boy. He tells you who he is.
Yes.
You knew he was playing poker to pay off his tuition through law school.
Yep.
And you're still riding his dick because he was at a fucking judge's poker game.
And it's not like
unbelievable.
She even says later in the movie,
look, old days, at least you never lied. You lost everything, but at least you never lied.
Exactly. You knew who I was.
Yeah, you'd rather I be an honest loser that needs you than be a fucking lying-ass winner that is maybe a little independent and, you know, can think for himself.
Yeah. So...
And by the way, now I'm on a fucking roll. Mike has the worst judge of character of anybody I've ever seen. For somebody that can read cards and read people, he surrounds himself with horrible human beings.
That's the
horrible human beings.
That's the world he lives in. In that scene, he talks about going to pick up Worm.
Yes.
Right? His best friend, played by Ed Norton, who's in jail for distributing credit cards, not printing.
Yes. I wasn't printing. I was distributing. Distributing. It's different.
Because he's like, I need to borrow your truck later, tomorrow or whatever, because I got to go pick up Worm. And she's like,
I promised I'd be there, huh?
Worm, I just can't believe you still know someone called Worm.
He's like my brother.
So
the reason I'm not in prison with Worm is he took the hits.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go ahead and pick Homeboy the fuck up.
Yeah.
And by the way, can I borrow your car? Yeah. Where are you going? No. Can I borrow your car?
Yeah.
That's the only question I'm asking. I'm not renting your car. I don't need to fill out a fucking form.
Would you like the insurance? So he goes to pick up Worm, Ed Norton, from prison. He picks him up, tells him that, he's out of it. He's out of the game. He got cleaned out at KGB's. And Worm has him take him to a poker game because he already has this set up with some chick that he knows to go and win some money right out of prison.
Constantly breaking his balls the entire ride to the poker game about him not playing poker anymore.
Oh, God, you're killing me.
Horrible friend. When somebody says, like, yo, bro, I stopped drinking, don't be like, oh, you're a pussy. Take me to the bar. You're going to have a drink. You're going to have a drink. You're going to have a drink. You're going to have a drink, right? Right? You want a drink?
He drops off Worm at the poker game. He says he's not going. He leaves. He then stops, turns around, comes back because he wants that money. He knows it's an easy game, so he's just going to go in and play for a little bit. So he plays. He comes home the next morning after dropping Worm off at the Chesterfield, which is an underground poker club, that he basically gets him straightened out. And
this is the whole, this is where the real plot of the movie kicks off.
Exactly. And Worm basically takes $2,000 off the top, puts it on Mike's tab. The juice starts running. And he's just taking everybody's money, including, Russian gangster guys. Mike gets pulled out of a meeting and he's like, dude, lose their money back to them. Like, you're out for 2 minutes and people are already busting my balls about you at this club. He goes back home after dropping him off at the Chesterfield. And he goes back to his apartment, to which Joe busts his balls incessantly. Like, you knew where he was going. If you've known Mike for more than, 9 months, you know Ed Norton's character. You knew they were going to go out. you knew they were going to do something. So how about you just shut the fuck up and move on with your day? She gets pissed. Oh, you weren't anywhere near a poker game? He's been out of the game for 9 months. Now, yes, he was near a poker game. That's not the point. But he's been out of gambling and poker for 9 months, right? By all accounts in this movie, he's a good dude, treats his girlfriend right, his friends like him, he's well respected in the poker community and apparently in the law school community.
Yep.
He goes out once, comes back, early the next morning, and she just, again, incessantly busts his balls because he stepped out once?
Yeah, and it wasn't even a high-stakes game.
No, it was with a bunch of college kids.
Yeah. It was basically like playing Nintendo against your 5-year-old fucking nephew.
Joe, this wasn't even a real game. This was like wiffle ball.
He says, oh, go to the meeting without me. I'll be there. I'll catch a cab. So and here's another PSA for everybody out there. If you don't trust your guy or your gal, just leave. Just walk away, because don't go through their shit. If you find it in your mind that you're like, I should go through their shit because I don't believe them, just leave. How about that? You don't have to go through his pants while he's taking a shower to find what she calls...
I found that gangster's roll in your pocket.
The second you think about going through somebody's shit, whether it's their pockets, their phone, whatever, because you distrust them, it's over.
This girl is obviously wrapped way too tight for living.
Again, he's been playing poker since he was in high school, basically. And he's kind of like this little prodigy. Small time, but he's like this prodigy poker player. And everybody knows who he is. Even though he's small time, everybody knows who he is. He loses one time on one hand because he went all in on literally an unlucky hand. That's all it was.
Oh, yeah.
He read it right, he played it right, and he lost it.
Yeah.
One time. But she's acting like he's got a gambling problem. Like he wasn't coming home with thousands of dollars every time he'd go out and gamble.
Yeah.
Like, you lost once, and she says,
I stood by you while you lost everything before.
Walking around with your flat ass in them corduroy pants.
So, the next scene is Worm getting jumped by Grandma. Grandma used to be his partner, and he apparently bought up all his debt when he went to prison. And basically, instead of owing, 15 grand to 5 guys.
You owe 25 to me. 25 grand and the juice is still running. I consolidated your outstanding debt.
Takes all the cash that he won from the Chesterfield, which is 10, and leaves him with nothing.
PSA number 3, I think. Hi, kids. Uncle Corey again. I know it's another PSA. They're getting old. But, important message here. If you are in need of money, do not borrow from loan sharks, Russian mobsters. Do not take money from gangsters.
Don't borrow money from gangsters or people who have like the long handlebar mustache. Like, don't do that. Don't borrow.
Derby hats, 70s leather jackets in the 90s.
Yes, exactly.
There's a long list of just don'ts.
The next scene is where Matt Damon meets Petrovsky, his law professor, played by Martin Landau. And this is where Landau tells him the story about the yeshiva.
The last thing I took away from the yeshiva is this. We can't run from who we are. Our destiny chooses us.
And that sits with Matt Damon. He gets back to his apartment after this whole thing, and Joe is already gone. One argument, and this bitch bounced.
Boom. Boom.
Oh my God. Mike, she made off with your sheets.
That's when you know some cold-blooded shit is happening, is she didn't even wet the bed. She took sheets so you had to sleep on a bare-ass mattress. That is fucked up.
But Worm is with Matt Damon during this. Worm convinces Mike that they're going to go to Atlantic City. Damon's now officially back in the game. And I really like the next scene because it's all the Rounders in Atlantic City at the table.
It's sort of annoying.
I like the idea of this scene.
Yes.
But the scene overall is useless in the grand scheme of the movie. The only thing the scene is good for is that Ed Norton goes to take Mike's checks and his chips.
Yeah.
And Mike asks him about that. And he's like, oh, well, I saw Grandma.
I ran into Grandma tonight.
Yeah?
Yeah? He took everything I had.
He always gives Mike the story, but never the full story. Like, he just gives him, like, little pieces.
Yep.
Because, and if he ever at any point during this movie says, this is what's going on, they pay off Grandma, and this movie's over.
Yeah.
Like, but he waits so long and only gives him, like, little pieces as this movie goes on. But that's literally the only reason this scene is there.
Yeah, 100%.
Is for that little transaction to happen.
Yeah, well, it was interesting, too, because you got to see how the insiders respected Mike.
I was actually going to try and make some real money tonight, but in honor of Mike's alley-like return to the ring, I'll sit with you all for a while.
And had zero respect for work.
Hey, Worm, do they allow people like you in places like this?
He's just an obnoxious asshole
Yep.
to everyone but Mike.
Yes. Yes. So Matt Damon's late for moot court the next day, and he isn't prepared at all because according to Matt Damon at the end of this movie,
I think we both know I'm no lawyer.
he and Joe talk after moot court because she literally left him the day before. Moot court is the next day. And then she, in that little back and forth between them, she basically calls him a loser, takes a couple more digs at him.
Make it sound as if it was my decision. Rule number 1, throw in your cards the moment you know they can't win. I mean, I'd say good luck, but I know it's not about luck in your game.
All you had to do was like, I'm not talking about this, and walk away. No, you took the opportunity for Matt, like, dude, what the hell's going on? To take a few digs at him, call him a fucking loser, and then bounce the fuck out. Like, just walk away. Just walk away, be done.
I don't understand why it's so hard for people to write women. Just write a normal person.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're either one way or they're the other.
Yeah.
And again, she has no art. She's an asshole from start to finish. And the point of her character is for us to side with her at some part. And you're not going to watch this self-destruction go on because you care so much.
Yeah.
But she displayed none of that.
No, she displayed the I'm bouncing the minute there's any hardship.
Yeah, like, here, I'll give you a great example. Take Rosie Perez's character in White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
She stays with Billy through all of it, and she's trying to keep him on the straight and narrow so badly. And then it finally, like, you're going to do this shit again.
Yeah.
I can't be a part of this anymore.
She in White Men Can't Jump, she finally hit a brick wall.
Exactly.
In this movie, the way Mike's character is written, there is no brick wall. He lost once. Did he lose everything? Yes, but it was a one-time thing, and he said, I can't go through that again, so I'm done. You didn't beg for him to stop. You didn't, like, there wasn't any of that. So that's why I say the minute you hit trouble, you bounce, and that's just a shitty characteristic of a human being, because there wasn't anything like that from White Men Can't Jump, where the dude's just a degenerate. Like, if that was Worm's girlfriend, totally get it. Damon finds out from Petra, from the Chesterfield, that he owes the Chesterfield $7,000 because the juice has been running on the 2 that Worm took for the last,
And literally never said anything.
Yeah, never told him anything.
And Matt Damon's just like, oh, okay, cool. Well, here, I think I got about $1,000. That'll get you started.
Yeah, that'll get me started to pay you off, and take Worm off the tit. Like put him on his own, and then he finds Worm hiding in a gymnasium that he found when they were kids.
Because he owes everybody money.
Exactly. And he's just, he was running away from Matt Damon says, you were running away from your problems then, you're running away from your problems now. Like, nothing has fucking changed.
If we fucked up back then and got caught, the worst thing that was going to happen was we would maybe catch a beating. We were going to get expelled. Man, you're fixing to go down hard. It almost seems like you want to. Oh, come on.
Like, there is no, like, oh, somebody's going to beat you up. No, they're going to kill you. And you're still pulling this shit. Damon decides he's going to take Worm to Grandma's, try to straighten the whole thing out, tells Worm to shut up and let me handle it. And Matt Damon has it all handled, and then Worm starts running his mouth and basically has to vouch for Worm.
If you think he's good for it, it's on you too.
Then it's on me too.
Two things from this scene. One, Yosemite Sam playing Grandma in this scene was amazing.
He was
such
really
a great
good.
job.
Yeah.
Rootin' tootin' acting right there.
Yep.
And two, at this point in the movie, it should be clear to everyone, including Mike, that Worm is conning Mike this entire time because all Worm wants is his buddy by his side. So the deeper in shit he gets Mike, the longer Mike will be by his side.
Yes.
You know, I don't like running solo. It's like I used to have a running partner.
This is like the easiest long con to spot that has ever tried to be laid out.
Yes, exactly. But Matt Damon says, I'm sticking to it. And they get to work on finding games around New York. Damon wants to play everything straight up, and he wants to play by himself. They hit a snag after the golf pro game where Damon mucks a hand and loses it to the golf pro. And so Worm suggests that they play in Binghamton, which is 5 hours away from New York. And it's a game against municipal workers.
Municipal workers, huh?
Well, these guys work for the city.
They work for the state, you idiot.
If you're about to hustle or con or do anything even slightly off book, and you realize that your target or your mark is a bunch of cops, turn and walk away. Because whatever the KGB or the mob is going to do to you does not compare to what the police will do. This is genuinely one of my favorite scenes, just because it is so ominous. It is so foreboding. The second Worm walks in those doors.
Well, and you hear his voice before you see him.
Holy shit, that's a hell of an elk.
This is going to be so epically bad.
Yes.
You just get that pit in your stomach waiting for it.
Caught a hanger, Sarge.
When Worm gets caught cheating, and they get the shit kicked out of them, and the cops take all their money, right? Matt Damon goes, hey, I was winning before this dude even showed up.
Listen, I was winning before this guy got here, all right?
But I don't think Mike does a convincing enough job in that scene, because I would be like, no. Beat the fuck out of this dude. Like, I know cops. I love cops. Like, we've been sitting around. We've been having a good time. I've been playing this game straight the entire time. Nobody's caught me cheating. Like, I would go a little bit further than to go, I was winning before this dude showed up. Like, that would be how I started it.
Yeah.
But I would continue to go before I just let some cops beat the fuck out of me.
And as I'm explaining it, I'm slowly backing out the fucking fire exit. I know that.
Just with my hand on the cash, like, I'm leaving.
The longer you let me talk, the more steps I am closer to that fucking door.
Exactly. But they get the shit kicked out of them. The cops take their money. Matt Damon finally gets the full story.
He told me Grandma's on his own. KGB bankrolled him.
That's when Worm bounces. Damon goes back to Grandma to see if there's any leeway, and he's like, hey, Worm left. Like, it's just me, and it's on me. So Grandma gives him no leeway, so he goes to Knish. And this is where we find out, because Knish won't give him any money. This is where Matt Damon tells Knish, this is why I made the play at Teddy KGB's place. It wasn't a bad beat.
I just decided, I don't care about the money. I'm just going to outplay the guy. I'm just going to outplay this guy this hand. And he mucked it. I took it down.
He tells Knish, I sat down with one of the greatest in the world and Johnny Chan, and I beat him for that one hand, and that's why I had the stones to go to KGB's. Right. To which Knish is basically like, that's a great story. You're going to have to get the fuck out of my face now. It's like, I understand, but that still doesn't get you 15 grand from me. His back is against the wall. He goes to his professor. The professor writes him a check for 10 grand.
If it must be tonight, 10 is the best I can do.
But he takes the 10 grand, and this is what I don't get. He goes to like a check cashing place. I don't know if anybody out there's been to a check cashing place, but I guess this could be a PSA. Check cashing places normally charge a nominal fee to actually cash a check. And they give him the full 10 grand. Like, what's the service there for? It's not a bank. It's like 2 a.m. So, like, okay,
it's just
cool.
some like weird underground turnaround cash with no interest.
Well, I was gonna say, were they paid no interest? Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So he gets the 10 grand, goes to KGB's, and basically within the first like minute of him being at KGB's, he wins the 15 grand back. This is where this whole end scene is fantastic, because this is where KGB starts goading Matt Damon into...
I am still up 20 grand from this last time. I stick it in you.
His accent, his Russian accent, progressively gets worse throughout this movie until the end.
It just fucking nosedives.
But for such a serious movie and such a comical accent, I don't know what the marriage of the two does, but it makes it so much better for some strange reason.
The fuck did you lay that down?
When you pay attention to what's actually being said and how he's doing it, his dialect, it's a fucking train wreck.
Yeah,
It's like
I don't know.
An Adam Sandler, Jack and Jill kind of movie accent. But
your father likes to pretend his life started in California.
Somehow it works.
Yeah, it's not as bad as like The Rock in Jumanji when he tries to do the Danny DeVito accent.
Who are you? Who is Jumanji?
He sits back down, Matt Damon does, with his 15 grand and powers out KGB over the course of, several hands in the evening, and wins at the end of the night 60 grand. So 15 goes to grandma to pay back, Worm's thing. He basically pays back everybody. The Chesterfield, his professor, and then he's back to where he was at the beginning of the movie.
With 3 stacks of high society.
2 things. One, why is grandma so pissed? Like, he's making 70 cents on the dollar for that 15 grand. He's making money either way. Whether Matt Damon pays him with KGB's money or whether Matt Damon pays him with money he found on the street, he's still getting 70% of that 50 grand or that 15 grand. My second thing, because after that, he goes and he sees Joe outside of the university, the law building, right? I'm not handing Joe an envelope which is obviously full of money.
Can you give this to Petrovsky? I didn't want to wake him up. It's still a little early. Can I count on you to do that?
You can always count on me, Mike.
No, I can't. Literally, have you not been watching this movie? Because 45 minutes ago, you called me a fucking loser and just left after one argument.
Yeah, the only thing I can count on you to do is fucking bounce.
You left me the mattress, a bottle of scotch, and a glass that I threw at the wall because Worm's an asshole. Like, that's all you left me. So no, I can't count on you for anything. So
yeah, no.
And then
that's why I literally have to ask you, can you do this? Don't fucking condescend back to me, asshole. Can you or can you not do this? Because I don't know who the fuck you are. You're fucking crazy.
Exactly.
I might tip out the fuck to Vegas and look across the table and there's Gretchen Mol sitting across from me with 10 grand I handed her. Don't know.
A new entry into the World Series of Poker. Gretchen Mol from New York.
Everybody hates Joe.
But the end is him getting in the cab and heading to the airport because he's going to Vegas to the World Series of Poker. This movie will stand the test of time for another 30 years. It's what, 22 years old?
Yeah.
And it's still fantastic. It's one of those movies that you can watch pretty much, like, if you wanted to, if you're into poker, watch it like every 6 months and you'd be totally down. The only thing that I had an issue with, I said earlier, is the monologue or the narrative by Matt Damon through the whole movie. And the only other thing is that there was some poker stuff that wasn't necessarily accurate, we'll say.
Right.
But because, like, listen, poker is about mathematics and odds and yes, and reading the people too. Like this movie was solely based on the fact that Matt Damon, he obviously knows cards, but he was reading people.
Yep.
That's like 20-30% of the game. The rest of it is knowing what you have and what the odds are that the other guy has. You know, it's more math than anything.
Right.
So like that piece is a little but dude, that's such a small complaint from me.
Mr. Son of a Beach.
Yeah, like I said, the only problem I have really with the movie, I don't even give a shit about the narration. Just nobody can write a woman.
Yeah. No,
there are two main women in this movie, and they're both, and this isn't some fucking feminazi rant I'm going to go on. It's just, you have two women. Every other character in this movie is realistic. Worm cannot get out of his own way. Matt Damon is loyal to a fault. You know, even the loan shark and Grandma and fucking KGB and John Malkovich, they play their parts perfectly. There is not a normal woman in this movie. It's either Famke Janssen, who is smoking fine, but she's there as sex object number one, as we like to say. And Joe is there to be obstacle, because you know bitches.
Well, I was going to say, in movies like this, and there's a lot of movies, especially that I've noticed that we've watched from like the 90s, that obviously women didn't write the movie because the women are written so horribly. They're either like in this movie and others like it, the women in the movie are either a bitch with no arc.
So instead of coming home, you went and played cards with some judge?
Or you're just like this cock-hungry, drifter.
I could stay.
Like that, those are the only two women that they write in these movies. But no.
But again, other than that, it's 100% stands the test of time. There is no wardrobe thing that stands out. We're not drowning in a 90s soundtrack like we do with Fear.
That's what happens when you use jazz throughout the the movie.
That's right. Cool jazz, cool poker players. I think you get to see two young actors, as you stated at the beginning, two young actors that are just on their game. Whatever fault there is in the movie, they are doing their best with whatever they got. Everybody else does well in their roles. I personally would have liked to have seen more of Kanish.
I need a blowjob from Christy Turlington.
I love this movie, and coming off of The Evil Dead, I think we needed this movie. So, if you don't have anything else, I certainly don't. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, and offer up some suggestions, but it looks like our list is getting really long.
That's what she said.
Please comment.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
take any and all suggestions, and they really do mean a lot. We fuck with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But we love getting the suggestions and the subscribers. You guys are awesome, and we really appreciate the way you've been responding.
Yep, and share the show. Don't forget to share. But
don't be dicks.
For Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 1998's Rounders.